Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar. My name is Abby Gaddis, the event organizer. Today, we're walking through modernizing your communication with Rhinogram. Just a little housekeeping before we get started. If you have any questions during the presentation, please do ask them in the control panel. We've reserved time at the end of the session to answer all of your questions. Also, today's webinar is being recorded and will be emailed to all registrants if you need to share with anyone on your team who may have missed this live event. I'd like to introduce our hosts today, orthodontic consultants Angie Menendez and Kathy Jugovich from Embrace Your Practice. Front desk proficiency and training on past due accounts, both insurance and patients, is something Kathy thrives on. Kathy trains doctors and office managers on the importance of running and understanding weekly and monthly reports. Training the clinical team and treatment coordinators on scanning, photography, and new technology is just a few of Angie's specialties. In-house marketing and proper communication techniques in the clinical area are two things Angie excels in. Case acceptance is improved tremendously with one-on-one training Embrace Your Practice brings. Angie, Kathy, thank you so much, and we're going to hand this over to you.
Thank you, Abby, and thank you for joining us. We're so excited to have you here with us today. Let's jump right in and introduce our guest, Dr. Keith Dressler. Dr. Dressler has more than 35 years of experience in a private orthodontic practice. He currently serves on an advisory board of the American Teledentistry Association. He is also an advent entrepreneur. Dr. Dressler, let's talk about this. Today's patients want online acquisitions and convenience. Why is this happening? And was this the experience with patients wanting online convenience?
Yes, Angie. Today's patients are 23 to 39 years old. It makes up the largest consumer population in America today. There are 80 million people in that age range, millennials and Gen Zers at the end. And these people grew up texting. They did not grow up voice talking. As a matter of fact, they don't like to talk on the phone at all. So
well,
if you can't...
Dressler, you know, that's not me. I like talking on the phone.
Yeah, I know that's not you. You like talking all the time.
And you're not a millennial.
Yeah, she is not a millennial. but at any rate, these millennials, that's all they want to do. So if you're not prepared to capture them online, you're missing a tremendous opportunity, because that's where they're going to go. They want their questions answered when they want it, where they want it, from their preferred medium, which is usually a smartphone, and they want all their questions answered, which means you have to be prepared to answer the question, how much is treatment going to cost? And they want that instant gratification. So let's see how I do this.
Yeah, how do you do this, Dr. Dressler? How do you get out there?
Well, Rhinogram is the platform that I use, and it enables my office to meet patients where they live, giving them the convenience they want and giving me the compliance and my practice that it needs. So the first thing Rhinogram is going to do, it's going to give me a HIPAA compliant textable number, so that on all my marketing materials, I can say text or call us at this number. And 99% of the time, it will match my voice number that I've had for 35 years. Also, there is a website widget. It's hard to see on this slide here, but in the upper right-hand corner, it says, in green, it says, message us now. And patients can, when they're on my website, can click on that and begin texting right with my practice. And last but not least, Facebook Messenger comes into Rhinogram as well. So all of my communications are in one place, and they are all HIPAA compliant.
Well, I did notice that when I was in your office, Dr. Dressler, you were even taking pictures with that number, and you were actually getting text while Kathy and I were in your office.
Yes. Actually, we also comes with Rhinogram is selectbraces.com. And for all you out there who do not know what Select Braces is, it's an orthodontist only listing site. And so anybody who gets on that site and begins to learn about orthodontics, it's going to explain the difference between an orthodontist, a general practitioner, and direct-to-consumer treatments. And if somebody wants the orthodontist, the expert, the specialist, the better trained person to deliver the highest quality care, they will then go here. They can type in their zip code and find very quickly an orthodontist in their area, and direct from that site, they can begin texting with your practice. That's the power of what Select Braces brings.
Well, this is awesome. So when it's coming to attracting new patients to your orthodontic practice, cursor exams are your bread and butter. Do you have instructions on how to take these photos?
Absolutely. Rhinogram's actually going to come with templates, but this is what I do in my office, and this is how I advertise. We do cursory exams from the convenience of the patient's home, asking the patient to give us 3 pictures of their teeth. The first is a biting down picture, biting on their back teeth picture, and the next 2 are occlusals, occlusal of the upper, occlusal of the lower. And by being able to do this, I can 98% of the time tell what the patient's going to need, and I'm going to show you this a little bit later.
So tell us about the advertisement on your website. I know that you did touch base on it, but I love how it says online smile assessment with a quote. What does that mean, Dr. Dressler?
Well, number one, it's a free quote, right? And the number one question people want to know, and think about this, and you guys are consultants, y'all also worked for a long, long time in orthodontics as well. And if you've ever answered the phone, how many times have you been asked, how much is treatment going to cost? And what do you say? You say, I don't know. I can't tell you that. We need to set you up an appointment, so forth and so on. Well, now you'll be able to tell them. And why can't you tell them? Well, the number one reason you can't tell them is you can't see their teeth over a voice call. Yet here, they're going to be able to text in, and it's free, and it's online, and that's what they want to do. So if you take a look at the example of what happens in my practice, here typical what happens. A text comes in, how much is treatment going to cost? Now, my staff member picks a template. Understand this is 2 seconds. She's not having to type any of this out, and it's a template with an attachment. And this template says cost is based on severity of the case and type of insurance you have. If you will text us 3 pictures of your teeth, like the attachment, and the front and back of your insurance card, Dr. Dressler will get back to you with exact treatment, a cost, and a payment plan. And then it gives them the question, please reply agree to consent to these forms of communication. What usually will occur after this, the patient goes agree, they send in their pictures, they send in their insurance card, they get a quote, and we actually collect a down payment before before they've even walked in my door. This is what I'm talking about, convenience.
This is crazy. So now let's take a look at some of the orthodontic cases in your practice that has been texted in.
Okay, so what kind of cases come in? Well, you can look at this. This is simple, easy class 1. I bet the orthodontist out there looking at this, they haven't seen a case like this in 30 years. I haven't. Let's go to the next one. And another one, same type of thing. Both of these cases had texted in, hey, I've lost my retainers, a few teeth have moved. I would like Invisalign to correct the movements that have occurred. Again, 6 months or less, a real simple $2,800 case. But I do these all day long blindfolded. Here's another one. It's got spacing, and this may be 6 to 9 months. It had a thick frenum, but again, easy class 1 case, not much to do. Go to the next one. This one's a little tougher, but I want to point out with this that in the very first picture he sent me with this teeth edge to edge, I basically texted him back, could you please try to get your back teeth together and redo it? And he sent me the next picture. But a little tougher case, this may be 12 to 18 months adult. And then let's go to the next one. And the next one is, again, even a tougher case. And this may be, 24 months. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to give them a 24-month fee. In my practice, it's going to be about $5,900 to do this case. I'm not going into detail about, am I going to take teeth out or not take teeth out? I'm going to say, hey, I can treat you in 24 months. It's going to be $5,900. Here's what we're going to do to set up pay arrangements and give them their options. And again, handle all of this stuff from the convenience of the patient's home.
And what I like about it also, Dr. Dressler, is that if it's very complex, they're still going to be seeing you in a consult, so you can go into that detail when they do come into the office. But this just opens their mind and opens their door to what to expect.
That's correct.
So let me say something that is such a big thing on emergency phone calls. I hated that when I was in the practice. They came all the time. How does your office handle emergency phone calls?
Well, it's beautiful today because 90% of my repairs are handled with a simple text back versus an in-office visit or even a phone call. We train our patients the day they get their braces. If they've got something wrong, selfie it to us. And as you can see, here are two examples from my practice. I don't say circle what's off or what's wrong. They did, like I may not recognize that a bracket's off the lower right first molar there, but it's okay. They're so used to taking pictures and drawing on them and putting all these things on pictures that it's second nature to these folks. So it's really, really cool. And therefore, guess what? Again, when they do it this way, phone doesn't ring. If phone's not ringing, it's simply coming in. We're handling it at our convenience on our time. It doesn't have to be handled right that second. It could be 10 minutes later, you know, and you can continue doing what you're doing. And when you've got a moment, you deal with it.
That's awesome. So how do you handle missed and changed appointments with Rhinogram?
Well, what you're going to find out, Angie, is once patients understand that they can initiate the communication. Let me backpedal with you. I need to say this again. Patients understand they can initiate the conversation. So instead of them voice calling a phone number, they understand that they can text in, where most appointments and appointment reminders and changes were doctor initiated. They were doctor initiated text reminders. Now, what occurs in real life is when they know they can initiate it, they do it when it is convenient for them and when it hits their mind and they want to check something off their list. So if you look at this one, you will actually see that he texted in at 7:41 at night. Hey, I'm sorry, I was called into work. I'm not going to be available for an appointment. We were not in the office. They got an automatic response that we're out of the office, but he wasn't expecting a reply. He got a reply the next morning. I want to show you how fun it is, though. So these people are checking things off, and now we're beginning to really engage them and have fun. If we can go to the next slide here, shows, nope, back. There we go. At this one, but I wanted to show you what he says. He says, basically, thank you for being super flexible. Can't thank you guys enough. Well, we're super flexible in terms of it's easy for him to change things, but we have fun. In the very last thing we say is, please respond with your favorite emoji to confirm, and they do. And in the next slide, you will see they even start sending stickers and avatars and everything else, and we just make it a really, really fun experience and make it like they're texting with their friends and family.
Well, there's another big thing that I notice in offices, Dr. Dressler. Let's talk about tracking aligners. How do you handle that?
Well, Angie, we handle tracking aligners the same way we do everything else, and that is we will do virtual aligner checks. So I'm going to have them in the first time to fit the first aligner. I'm actually going to give them 2 so that I can judge how they do. And after 2 weeks, I'm going to have them text me pictures with the aligners in and the aligners out, just like you see on this slide. We text them and ask them to send in their pictures. And if everything looks good and I feel like it's tracking fine, I will tell them to go to aligner 2. Now, after aligner 2, I am going to FedEx them 4 or 5 at a time as long as I feel like they're wearing them well. And we set them up a 2-week schedule to receive this kind of text. So every 2 weeks, they send it in. Now, let me share something with you. A FedExing out cost me $11.98. Okay. If I had them in my office, just having them in my office cost me $50 in sterilization of the chair, sterilization of the unit, front desk time, assistant time, doctor time, and this is, if you will, $12. So I'm saving myself $38 by FedExing them instead of having them come in and get them. So I would do this all day, every day.
Sounds good. So Dr. Dressler, how about the high value of time and cost of savings?
Well, again, I don't think I need to, that everybody listening to this would understand that patients, love fewer in-office visits, and patients love that we can do virtual exams, virtual follow-ups, aligners, virtual retainer checks. We can do virtual, quote, perceived emergencies. All of these things keep the patient from having to have in-office visits. And obviously from the office side, you see fewer people face-to-face. Now, that does not mean you're delivering less quality care. You're just delivering it in a different way. You're seeing them when you need to see them, and you're not seeing them when you need not to be seeing them. Obviously, making scheduling fun and easy and knowing that they can initiate the change of appointment is huge. And obviously, affordability is a must. Now, I'm not saying you go down on your fees, but I am saying make sure you have pay arrangements that fit into people's budgets, which I think virtually every orthodontist does a good job of that.
So it sounds like the annual expenses will also decline with Rhinogram.
Oh, absolutely. When you keep people out, and I say this all the time, is we have a refreshment bar in my reception area. Has juices, coffee, snacks, all of that. And when somebody comes in, and especially in an orthodontic practice, it's usually a herd of little ones that come with them. They eat you out of house and home just for an unneeded emergency visit, so to speak. And then these little ones, they get into the restroom, and next thing you know, your damn toilet's clogged up and you're calling a plumber, and this visit is cost you, $250, $300 before it was all over. I would rather minimize that. And then obviously by keeping people out with aligner follow-ups and retainer follow-ups, all of that saves you big time dollars. And in my practice in 2019, my overall expenses for the year decreased 16%.
What? 16%?
Yes, 16%.
So Dr. Dressler, how much time, how much do you think that your staff really loves Rhinogram?
Well, I can tell you they absolutely love Rhinogram. It's given them back 1 to 2 hours a day of time. It's replacing lengthy phone conversations with short, simple, templated messages that can be easily personalized. And we have decreased the number of people actually coming in per day. So my staff have all of this time to do what? To actually engage and spend time with the patients that are coming in, giving them a much higher level of service than just sort of herding them in and herding them out, because you've had to put in the emergency visits, you've had to put in the aligner visits, you had to put in the retainer checks. When you begin to realize how much that takes out of your schedule and how much time it gives you back, it begins to give the patient the most meaningful in-office visit that they could possibly have.
Wow, that is really great. Now, let me ask you, Dr. Dressler, online acquisitions also increases your practice revenue?
Yes, it did. And again, I'm giving you 2019 numbers. My revenues increased 30%, and I want to share incremental business. This is business I would not have had. These easy class ones that every orthodontist who's listening to this can do blindfolded. I'm getting approximately 10 new patient starts a month, easy class one, 12 months or less, or as you've seen in some of these examples, 6 months or less. I have an average fee of $4,000, and I'm spending $2,200 a month in marketing, and I'm marketing in 3 places. I'm marketing Facebook, Google ads, and Instagram mainly. Those are where all my ads, digital ads are, and it's driving all of this business to me.
Wow, that's amazing. So also, what is the increases in your net profit?
Well, I gave myself a 46% raise last year because my revenues increased 30%, and again, incrementally, and my expenses declined. So I think it's, there's not an orthodontist out there who wouldn't like a 46% raise over the following year. And that's basically what I was able to give myself.
Well, that's absolutely amazing. I noticed that when we went into your office, how much ease and everything was, and everything just was so stress-free. And I think it does have to do with all these things that you've told us so far, Dr. Dressler. So let's talk now about how we should incorporate Rhinogram into our orthodontic practices.
Well, the biggest reason you should is that consumerism is disrupting our specialty. And these companies here are defining who we are. And I'm just not the type of person that wants to let others define who I am. If you look at Smile Direct and Candid and those types of companies, the direct-to-consumer companies, they're basically saying orthodontists are inconvenient and too expensive. And they're all of the patients, they're dating our patients. They're wanting our patients. We've got to get out there and date and dance with them too. And if you don't, then they don't know that you deliver the same convenience, the same affordability. And that's why I'm out in there digitally marketing so that I can date these people too. And then obviously you've got Smile Doctors and anybody else who does orthodontics, general dentists in the area, and all advertising discounts. And this particular ad matches the down payment. So even existing patients who have second family members, they're being bombarded with these ads. That doesn't mean you will get the second family member unless you educate them that you have this convenience. You don't want to lose second family members. And for sure, you've got to gain new patients every year. You need to be out there in the world again of where these millennials are living. So at the end of the day, I believe let's go out and celebrate. The golden age of orthodontics is ahead of us because we just need to go out there and get them. The acquisition of patients is very different than 35 years ago, but there's much more of a market to penetrate and to acquire than there was 35 years ago.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Dressler, for those great educations. But I hear that, Kathy, are the lines or your emails going a little bit crazy with some questions here?
Yes, I do have some questions if we're ready for Dr. Dressler to answer them.
Well,
I'm ready, Kathy.
We're going to dance, but I hear that questions are a little bit more important. So let's go, Dr. Dressler.
First question is how do you keep track of when patients need to send in pictures?
How do I keep track of it?
Yes.
Okay, what occurs in my practice is every picture that gets texted in gets assigned to me. So that means, again, let me backpedal. Everybody is sitting in front of a computer, and I have 6 people, 5, 6 people logged in at the same time. they all see a message coming in if they have availability to see it, and they see if it's pictures. Every one of them know it's my rule in my office. Assign those pictures to me because it's a clinical question. So I will then see it, route it, and then we actually have a place in our software. I mean, we can teach people to do this where it says either potential new patients or actually new patient starts. And this is in the Rhinogram software, and we will move that patient to either the potential or to the new patient start based upon what they have done, so that you can keep track of them. And if it's potential, we know to go back and follow up with them so that you have got a list of phone numbers that you can keep track of and follow back up with. So it's really cool. You don't lose anybody. You don't forget anybody. You can go back and remind them if they say, hey, I didn't realize it was this expensive. I need to wait 6 months. Well, you put them down to follow up with them in 6 months. And again, they're in a group of folks, and we'll teach you how to group your people.
Okay, great. The next question is do you have to let the insurance companies know that you're doing a virtual exam or a virtual office visit once the patient starts?
If we're talking aligner therapy, which is basically the only way to do virtual visits, you don't. Again, insurance companies, I don't think you can file for a visit. Like I said, the visit for me is every 2 weeks, but I don't think you can. Let's say if I had a visit 8 weeks out, I can't file for one 4 weeks out, meaning, again, that's insurance fraud. So I would say, as long as they corresponded to your virtual visit, you file them the same way, because a visit's a visit. You're seeing them, whether you see them face to face or whether you see them through pictures. You're making your diagnosis and moving forward. So you can file that way. It's no different.
Okay, I have another question here. Somebody's asking, are the FedEx fees included in the fee, or do you bill the patient every time you FedEx the new aligners to them?
No, I just build it into my fee, and I don't surprise them, or there's no hidden fees, so to speak, in mine. Again, if I had to have them come in, it's going to cost me $50, so I'm saving $38, like I said before, when I FedEx them, and I've kept them out of my office, so it's actually saving me money. It's just
Okay.
not a big deal.
Thank you. How many cell phones do you have at the front desk that your staff is communicating from, is coming in from Allison?
Oh, well, Allison, there are zero, let me repeat, zero personal cell phones or cell phones at my front desk. It could be an office-owned cell phone. There are none. And the reason there are none, again, Allison, maybe you know, but personal cell phones are not truly HIPAA compliant, number one. But number two, in my practice, as I've mentioned before, they're all at their desktop and they're all looking at it. We do have a mobile app for iPads, iPhones, laptops, any of that nature. So if you do go home, like I could be anywhere, and I'm sure Kathy and Angie have seen me doing an exam at a continuing ed meeting. And that's because I've got an app on my phone, and I've got a notification that I need to look at something. And that something is obviously photos of people that have come in, and I can do it from anywhere in the world. So it's really cool. So, but as far as personal cell phones of that nature or an office cell phone, there are zero. And everybody has their own personal login, which is one of the big reasons that it's not compliant. Because if you text, it can't be you've got to be able to identify who the person is that is texting. That's part of the HIPAA laws. So if you can't identify who it is, then it's not HIPAA compliant. And if you say, oh, it just came from an office phone, well, Was that Angie at the front desk? Was that a clinical person? Was that the doctor replying? Who is it? So you would have no idea who it is that's actually replying. And the storage of and security of the personal cell phone's a whole nother matter. That's also not HIPAA compliant, but there's lots of non-HIPAA compliant ways or reasons that way of doing it is not compliant.
Well, I will say that that's one of the things Kathy and I see a lot of times when we go into offices, is that offices are using their own personal cell phones to have communication. And this is just such a great program because it tracks everything that's happening. It can be assigned to different people in the office, and it's working straight on your computer. It's not being saved on your personal cell phone. It's being saved in a HIPAA compliance ability, and we've seen it all the time that we walk in offices that don't have this capability.
So the next question goes into, do you need to have consent to text message your patients?
Well, I want everybody to understand texting is more than HIPAA, okay? HIPAA is one law, but the biggest texting law that gets fined is a law called TCPA. That's Telephone Consumer Protection Act. Y'all can all go look it up. And the only thing exempt from a text is you can send out, without consent, an appointment reminder. And the reason you can, and the reason it was exempt, too many folks were doing it by the time the law was made. Otherwise, you wouldn't be allowed to do it without consent. But that's it. That is the only thing. So if you send out a review, you need consent before you send the review. If you send out a text saying, hey, here is what you owe my practice, you need consent before you do that. If you don't have consent, you are illegal. And obviously, any type of marketing stuff requires consent as well. So the only thing that you can get by with without consent is an appointment reminder. Everything else must have consent. So all you have to do too is go look up Walgreens and TCPA. Go ahead and Google it, and you'll see where Walgreens was fined $11 million because they actually, when you're talking a cell phone, not everybody has unlimited text or unlimited voice messaging. You are no business, doesn't matter what it is, healthcare or otherwise. No business is allowed to run up somebody's bill or use up somebody's minutes without their consent. When it was email, it didn't matter. So you've got all these marketing companies that used to send blast emails, and they go, oh, it would be cool, let's send blast text. Well, you're in a whole nother world when you're dealing with text because of TCPA.
And it's true, Dr. D, isn't it true that Rhinogram helps you capture and store that consent?
It is absolutely. Rhinogram has consent management built in and protects you. And as far as I'm aware, there are very few, if any, other platforms that have even thought about it or wanted to help you about it because, again, they will leave it up to you. And if you're caught, then they're going to say, well, it's the doctor's fault. They should have known the law. Well, we, Rhinogram, as a company, we believe we need to share the law with the providers and help them in every way possible not to break the law, because most offices, again, do not understand the law. And you guys approve it or set it when they're texting from personal cell phones from the front desk. That is just not compliant in any way, shape, or form.
Well, everyone, I think that's all the time we have today. Angie, Kathy, Thank you so much for joining us. It was such a pleasure to have you interview Dr. Dressler. Again, the webinar is being recorded. For all of you who want a recording, we'll get one sent out. And if we weren't able to answer your question, please email hello@rhinogram.com and we'll be happy to help you out. Thank you again, Angie, Kathy from Embrace Your Practice, and Dr. Dressler. Such a pleasure.
Thank you.
you.